Are you thinking about renting a house on Nantucket? Maybe you're already a Nantucket regular who's looking just to get some more comprehensive knowledge about the island. Maybe you watched The Perfect Couple on Netflix and now you feel the need to visit. Cool story about that? Stay till the end to hear about it. My family spends a ton of time on Nantucket, including spending the whole summer on Nantucket in our home all together. So in this video, I'm going to tell you all you need to know about renting a home on Nantucket. Hope you enjoy. So to give you a little bit of background, the reason we spend so much time on Nantucket is because back in 2010, my family and I decided that we needed a different type of beach vacation. So we had the opportunity to rent a friend's house and we took it for 1 week. We visited, we rented, we loved it, and now we own a home here. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of what you need to know about renting on Nantucket. Hey, I'm Katie Norton, a realtor in Massachusetts, and this channel is all about what you need to know about living on the South Shore, Cape, and the islands. Subscribe if you haven't, and if you need any help acquainting yourself with these areas, give me a call. So let me just quickly tell you about my relationship with the island of Nantucket. If you know me, you know it's one of my favorite places. We sometimes like to call it our happy place. I wear a little charm of Nantucket with me every single day. It's just such a special place for us. So here's how it all started. My family spent a lot of time on Cape Cod with our families. And as our family started to grow, we realized we wanted to take our own summer vacation as like a little nuclear family. So 1 year in 2010, we had an opportunity to rent a friend's house on Nantucket. And that began our beautiful journey and our relationship with Nantucket. After that 1 week, we literally could not wait to get back. So the next week, we rented from them and then we rented somewhere else on the island because we wanted to start to explore other parts of the island. And then each year we would come back to the same place and rent. And then the consecutive weeks we'd rent in other spots. And a little bit later in the video, I'll show you all the different areas. Basically, what we realized after renting for 4 years, the first year was 1 week, the second year was 2 weeks, the third year was 3 weeks, and by the fourth year, we were up to 5 weeks of vacation on Nantucket. And as the kids got older, we realized that this was definitely someplace that we all wanted to spend our time together. In the summer of 2015, we bought our first home on Nantucket. Of course, because we had rented in so many different areas, we knew exactly the spot for our family, which was Brant Point. And we have never looked back. We've been so happy there. And this is actually one of our Christmas cards from a year or two ago. It's with our Jeep on Nantucket down at the Galley Beach, which is right around the corner from our house. And it just shows like our family just loves it so much there. All 3 boys work at the restaurant at the Sandbar, which is right next to our house. I'll tell you more about that later. Okay, so before I give you any more information about how to rent a house on Nantucket, let me tell you a little bit more about Nantucket. First of all, it is an island 30 miles out to sea. Guess what? There's only 2 ways to get there. There's 2 different ferry systems, the Steamship Authority and the High Line. The Steamship Authority is the only ferry that allows for cars and freight trucks to come on and off the island. So as you can imagine, it is a very, very important part of the infrastructure of Nantucket. The High Line is more of a passenger ferry and they can do really quick back and forth cruises. So, you can get there from Hyannis to Nantucket in about an hour and 5 minutes on either ferry. The only other way to get there is by airplane. So if you're coming from somewhere outside of Massachusetts, your best bet is to fly in either through Boston or Hyannis on Cape Air. So if you need information or more information about how to get to and from Nantucket, please give me a call. I know all the tricks. And guess what? There are a lot of tricks. One of the best things about renting through a real estate agent who lives on the island is you are going to get almost like a concierge service about renting the house, how to get here, where to buy your groceries, what tickets you need to buy in advance, what restaurants you need reservations for. As far as travel goes, I'm happy to help. And that is at no additional cost to you, the renter, because the owner of the home covers all of the compensation paid to the realtor who does the transaction. And this is because they really want to make sure that while you're there on the island renting their home, you are going to get a full service experience. I've had friends who do an Airbnb or a VRBO. As a family, we sometimes do that too. But the reality is on Nantucket, having someone right there to help you through all of the transition of arriving and departing and everything in between is going to be worth every penny that the owner pays us. So here are the basics to renting on Nantucket. The typical rental is based on the unit by weeks, not days or months. So typically, if you book a 1-week rental, you'll arrive on Friday or Saturday, and you'll also depart on Friday or Saturday. So at the time of this recording, there are currently 778, give or take a few, rental properties on Nantucket. I've had properties rent as high as $100,000 per week, but I would say the typical rental is usually closer to $10,000 to $20,000 per week, depending on what needs you have in the house. And look, let me level set with you. Nantucket is definitely considered a luxury vacation. Not everyone is able to afford $25,000 a week for a rental. But if you do have the budget, there definitely is value here. Anytime I've ever rented to anyone on Nantucket, the first thing they say when they're leaving is, can I book the same house for next year? The value is truly there. So let me do a little bit more explaining, because sometimes when you think of a luxury vacation, you think of Paris or you think of London or these places where New York City, where you're going to go and you're going to spend a ton of money on a hotel, and then you're going to go shopping and spend on, Louis Vuitton or other high-end brands. Here's the thing about Nantucket. There are no high-end brands. We do not have any franchises. We do not have any stores that have stores in other places unless you count the Stop and Shop. Here's the thing. It's all these very unique to Nantucket stores, restaurants, and just experiences that you will find nowhere else. Nantucket is traditionally a walking island. Please don't bring your car. There is so much traffic in the summertime with cars. So the way we all get around is we bike ride, we walk, and there's an amazing transit system called the Wave. In fact, this summer, Massachusetts Transportation just invested a bunch of money into the Wave system to make them all electric buses. The island itself is only 13 miles wide and 9 miles long. So if you think north to south, it's about 9 miles, and east to west, it's 13 miles. You can pretty much get anywhere by bike or by the transit system. We do have some amazing cab services. Just recently, Uber started to come over and they started to be available. So really, if you're coming over for a week, trust me, you do not need your car. As a mom, that was the most important thing to me. When we got to Nantucket for that first week, suddenly I wasn't driving around everywhere, dropping my kids off at different sporting events or different theater events or school events. I was sending them off on their bikes to go get a slice of pizza or meet us at the beach when they didn't want to come right away. So for me, it just showed me this sort of I stepped back in time a little bit. Just to add to that sort of luxury lifestyle, Nantucket is well known for having some of the most famous people and the wealthiest people own homes or come to visit or even show up on their yachts. But guess what? You would never know that. They just walk around just like everybody else, and at any given moment, you could be sitting at a bar or at a restaurant next to a high-powered CEO or a famous celebrity TikToker, a sports legend, and you wouldn't even know because you're just having a normal conversation, and mostly you're talking about how much you love being on Nantucket. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about all the different neighborhoods of Nantucket. Before I do that, let's look at a bird's eye view of Nantucket as a whole. Now, as I said, it goes from east to west 13 miles. And over there on the west side is a little island called Tuckernuck. And the great part of Tuckernuck is that they have no electricity, no running water, and they have no ferry service. So if you have a friend who owns a little cottage or shack over on Tuckernuck, the only way to get there is by a friend's boat, and you're probably just going over for a one night. It would almost be like camping. So a lot of people do that as a really fun way to escape the hustle and bustle of what is Nantucket now. So here's the thing. Right in the center of Nantucket is town. And this is where you're going to arrive to Nantucket if you take either of the ferry services. So as you arrive, you're arriving to the most densely populated area of Nantucket. And this is because this is where all of the restaurants and the retail shopping, all of your services, bike rentals, real estate offices, the pharmacy, the stores, and the restaurants are all in this little area called town. And it really is a really small area. There are homes to rent there, but let's just talk a little bit about the downtown. So the downtown is literally made up of cobblestone streets. So ladies, leave your stilettos at home and just bring your wedges. The Nantucket Hospital is filled with sprained ankles and broken wrists for people that didn't know that. In all seriousness, it's a lot of fun to just be walking around on these old cobblestones and thinking about what it used to be like, 100 years ago on Nantucket. So the great thing about town is this is exactly where you're going to arrive if you take either of the ferries, the Steamship Authority or the High Line. They both come into docks that drop you right in town. Once you get dropped off, there's an excess of cabs, Ubers, and the bus system that I mentioned before. So it's very easy to arrive right there. So even if you are having your car come over on a different ferry, you can still arrive into town, get to your rental, get set up, and then go get your car afterwards. As I said, is a hustle and bustle area, but there are plenty of options for renting in town. In town is what we call it. Basically, you could rent a 2-bedroom condo upstairs from all of the shops and the restaurants. If you just go out a little bit to the east of town, you're going to hit a bunch of old row houses that have been modernized. So those are the old shipping and the captain's houses. And this was a huge whaling industry back in the day. And there were some beautiful houses that were built all throughout town for the captains of the industry and just all the workers and everyone like that. So you're still going to find those sort of traditional old homes in town. If you go just to the north, you're going to hit Brant Point. And Brant Point is well known for a few things. It's well known because the White Elephant Resort is located in Brant Point. We also have the beautiful Brant Point Lighthouse, which is the welcoming to Nantucket. So anytime you take the ferry to Nantucket, you're going to come around the corner and see that Brant Point Lighthouse, and you have arrived. This is also where the Coast Guard is located. Brant Point is a series of beaches that stretch about a mile long, and then it sort of veers off into changing of neighborhoods. So Brant Point itself is made up of, some cottages, some beach cottages, and some really beautiful old mansions, basically, that are right on the water. One of the most famous streets is Hulbert Ave, and when you're coming into Nantucket Harbor, that's going to be the first row of houses that you see, and they're just all so beautiful. Brant Point is so popular for renters. We have some of the highest rental real estate on all of Nantucket Island, and the reason is you have direct access to Nantucket Harbor. And so you're actually protected from sort of the enormous waves that happen on the south side of the island. So if you're on the north side of the island, it's just like a really safe place to swim. So we have a lot of families who come and they'll go to Jetty's Beach, and there's a great restaurant at Jetty's Beach called the Sandbar. And if you happen to be renting on Nantucket and you go over to the Sandbar on any given day, you will find one of my children working. My oldest is a bartender and a bar back. My middle guy is a server, and my youngest right now is a food runner. So on any given day, you're going to find a Norton boy at the Sandbar. One more notable place in Brant Point is called Galley Beach. Galley Beach is known for its incredible sunsets. And there is a restaurant called The Galley that's situated right there. This is the type of place that you would want to go to for a special occasion. In fact, many a night, my husband and I will walk down and we'll go to The Galley, just have a glass of wine and kind of catch up on what's been going on that day. And without doubt, there is an engagement going on, an enormous anniversary celebration, or a birthday celebration. And on the off season, on the shoulder seasons, we like to call them June and September, every single weekend, there is an enormous wedding that takes place. So it's a lot of fun to live near Galley and just be able to walk over and just see all the celebratory things that are going on at that restaurant. You may know the Galley restaurant if you're a fan of Ellen Hildebrand's books, because her first book was called The Blue Bistro, and it was modeled after the restaurant The Galley. So a lot of her fans will come and just go for dinner there because they just want to experience what they read about in the book. And just to note, she is also the author of The Perfect Couple, which was out on Netflix this past September, and it's a fantastic series if you haven't seen it, and it really highlights all the beauty of Nantucket. Like I said, stay tuned to the end and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. All right, so now let's hop to the south side of the island. And so right in the center that lines up with town and Brant Point is called Surfside. And Surfside is a stretch of area that also, of course, has, miles of beach. But the one thing that I love about Surfside is it's easy to get back into town. They also have their own set of restaurants and sort of little areas, little shopping area to go to. So I have a lot of friends that have bought out in Surfside, and one of the main reasons is is you actually get larger properties out in Surfside. You might get a home with a guest house. You might have a home with a pool. These are things that you do not find in Brant Point and in town because of the sort of density of it. Surfside is a little bit more spread out, so you might have a larger yard. I always try to recommend this type of Surfside rental to if a group of people is renting a house and they need a larger house with a few larger bedrooms, or they want a bigger communal area. So that's a good rental option for someone looking for that. So now I've talked a little bit about the rental market in Surfside. Let's go a little bit west to the neighborhood of Cisco. You've definitely heard about it because you've probably heard of Cisco Brewery. They created Cisco Brewing Company back in the 70s, and since then they have created a wine distillery, 888, there's a scotch, there's a lot of things. But the best part about the Cisco Brewery is it's an absolute experience. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Here we are, we're renting anywhere on the island. We're going to the beach for the day. We've rode our bikes. We now need a snack or maybe a cocktail. Let's ride our bikes right over to Cisco Brewery. Pull up our bikes, walk right in. There is an enormous open air brewery where you can get anything you want to drink, and all of the food trucks that make up Nantucket Island are all parked right in the brewery. So you can grab a drink, you can grab some food, sit at a communal table with all of your friends, or sit at a communal table where you're going to meet people from all over. And guess what? You all have something in common. You wanted to hang out in the afternoon at Cisco, and there's always a live band playing. There's always good people. You can go in your beach outfit or you can go in your dressed up outfit. It doesn't matter. Cisco is one of those places that you're going to go to see and be seen. On any given afternoon, you might see a Patriots player sitting behind the bar, spraying the drinks. I mean, I have seen everything there. Dave Portnoy carrying his dog through the crowd. Miss Peaches, she gets all of the attention. You would think that the biggest celebrity in the world was walking through the crowd at Cisco. You know, it's such a great place. It is such a diverse place. You have all ages. I have gone there with my young children, and I have gone there with my 80-year-old father-in-law. In fact, every time he comes to visit, it's on his list of things to do. I don't know, there's not much more I can say about Cisco other than if you visit Nantucket Island and you don't go to Cisco, you've missed out on the whole experience. Again, give me a call if you need more advice about that. All right, so let's stay on the west side of the island. Our next stop is going to be Madaket. Madaket is best known for its beautiful beaches, its enormous waves. If there is a storm coming through, Madaket is the place that I want to go and check out the waves. While I'm there, I'm going to go to Madaket Millie's. This is just an awesome restaurant that's been there for I don't even know how long, as long as I've ever known. You can go there, you can have dinner, you can catch a beautiful sunset, and then head back into town, and then you can catch the nightlife in town. Madaket is a little further outside of town, so this is a place that you're probably going to want to bring your car, unless you just want to stay out there. Some people go out to Madaket with all the groceries they need, and they do not leave. They spend all day on the beach, they watch the sunset, they fish, they cook that night, and they get up and they do it all over again in the morning. Again, it's really important to talk to a real estate agent who knows the island so that when you're explaining what the experience is that you want to get, your maximum experience out of Nantucket, I'm going to be the one that's going to help you find that. So now let's go from the place where you're going to find the most beautiful sunset to the place where you're going to find the most beautiful sunrise. And that's to the east of the island in a little village called Sconset. A fun fact about Sconset is it has its own identity. Truly, it does. It actually has its own zip code and its own post office. So if you are sending mail to anywhere on Nantucket Island, you send it to Nantucket, Mass. 02554. If you happen to have a family member who lives in Sconset, you would actually send it to Sconset, Mass. 02564. It's a fun fact. They're proud of it. They don't let anyone forget that if you say, I live on Nantucket, they say, well, I live in Sconset. I live on Nantucket, you live in Sconset. It's really fun. And I have a lot of friends that live out there and we tease them. You know, once you get out to Sconset, you never want to leave. So again, they have a couple of their own restaurants. They have a late night piano bar out there. They have the most famous golf course. I swear it's the most famous that I've ever heard of, aside from Augusta, but Sankaty Golf Course is out there. And the members, it's a very very proud place to live. The one thing about Sconset that all the tourists go out to see is the Sconset bluffs. And what you've heard is true. The houses are falling into the ocean on the bluff of Sconset, specifically Baxter Road. Some people will buy a house out there and know that it's only going to last 25 or 30 years. They're doing a lot of work with the environmentalists to make sure that the bluffs are strong and they can withstand these incredibly difficult nor'easters that we get up here in the Northeast. The reality is there is erosion almost every year. So it is such a beautiful place to go and visit, and please make time for it during your vacation. So if you're thinking about moving to the South Shore, the Cape, or the islands, or even just thinking about renting a home for a week or two on Nantucket Island, please reach out. As you can see, I am super passionate about Boston, the South Shore, the Cape, and the islands, especially Nantucket. It really is my home, and I've made such beautiful friends there in my summer community, and I'd love to share that. I love to share that with people. As you can see, I am really passionate about all things Boston, South Shore, and the Cape, but really, I am so passionate about Nantucket. It really, truly is my happy place. It's my home away from home. I have such great friends, and I've made such a beautiful summer community there that I love to share it with people. And here's the thing. If you are thinking about renting a home on Nantucket, as a realtor, I can provide you with so much more than, as an example, Airbnb or VRBO can provide you with. I know the ins and outs of this island. It is almost like a concierge, a private concierge service. I can recommend restaurants. I can get hard to find places to go. I can give you an itinerary. There are things that I can do for you. But the reality is I'm going to be working for you that whole week. But the owner of the home is actually the person that compensates the real estate brokers. And the reason for this is they want us to find them renters that love the island, that are passionate about the island. They are going to treat their homes like their home. So it really is important to do your research and find the right person to help you with your rental. So whether you're just looking for that 1 week beach vacation, you're looking for a bachelor or bachelorette vacation, are you planning a wedding and you need places for your friends to stay? Are you teaming up with a group of other families or just friends? Any of those reasons are going to be reasons to think about Nantucket as your next vacation. I hope this video has been helpful for you in understanding what Nantucket is all about and what this process of renting a home here would be like. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video. So a fun fact that I mentioned earlier about The Perfect Couple, that show on Netflix, if you haven't seen it, please go and watch it. One of the funnest parts about that video is the opening scenes where they do a dance number to Meghan Trainor's new song called Criminal. And fun fact, Meghan Trainor is also from Nantucket. So we are very proud of Meghan Trainor and Ellen Hildebrand. Ellen happens to be a dear friend of mine. We both have 3 kids. We found each other a little bit later in life. So we're going through those parenting teenagers into adults version of our lives. And, we're doing it the best we can and juggling a lot of things. So we've definitely found a friendship in that. But one of the best things for me to see is I'm so proud of her. After 25 books, she is finally getting the credit that she deserves as the beautiful storyteller that she is. And so Netflix picked up The Perfect Couple and they produced it, and I got to go to the premiere on Nantucket with Ellen and all of our friends, and we were just so proud of her. I can't say enough good things. So pick up her books for sure. Listen to her podcast, Beach Books and Beyond, and you'll get to see Ellen if you're on the island. She's all over the place. That's just a little fun fact about Nantucket. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure you can tell I could talk about Nantucket all day long. In fact, maybe I'll make a few more videos because this was fun. So I'll see you in the next video.